Okay, Ted, thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I know you have a long history with Rush, but before we talk about that, tell me a little bit what brought you to Rush in the first place many years ago.
Well, I first came to Rush when I was 19 years old, and I was a sophomore at Vanderbilt University pursuing my undergraduate education. And I was romantically involved with a Chicago girl. She eventually became my wife, and we wanted to spend our summers together. She helped me get a research job with Dr. Bonomi here at Rush. So when I was 19 years old, I first came here, and my future father-in-law was actually Stephen Economo, who at the time was associate chairman of surgery and eventually became chairman of surgery. So that's what started. And then after I graduated from medical school, I came here for my residency, and then I went into practice in 1988 as a member of the faculty of the Department of Surgery.
Was medicine something you always wanted to do, or did you sort of land up in it?
Well, I grew up in a very ethnic family, and you do what your grandmother tells you to do. And when I was 8 years old, my grandmother said, you're going to be a surgeon. And she would take my hands and look at my hands and say, what beautiful hands. And this was coming from a woman who did not even have a high school education, but she had this vision, and, you do what your grandmother tells you. And she would bring home organs from the old butcher shops. In those days, you could get, cows' livers, kidneys, pancreas, and she would bring home these organs and spread them out on the kitchen table underneath newspapers, and then pull down the Encyclopedia Britannica off the shelf, and then tell me to look up a picture of that organ, and then she'd say, find all of these different things. And then so very early on, I sort of had this instilled upon me. But no, I enjoy what I do. I wouldn't dream of doing anything else.
So she played a big role.
Oh, she was a huge role. And then her husband, my grandfather, was a physician. My uncle became a doctor. He was a physician at George Washington University, chairman of surgery there. And then I've had several cousins and uncles also become physicians, all because of her vision of what it meant to achieve and become a doctor.
So you came to Chicago following your heart, and you stayed in Chicago?
Yes. I came to Chicago out of medical school. I went to the University of Miami in Florida. And my wife, being from Chicago, we decided, well, by then we were married. I got married in my second year of medical school. And we decided together that we wanted to start a family very soon and have children, and we wanted to be near family. So Chicago afforded us that opportunity.
So how was it actually to work with father-in-law?
It was great. He didn't show any favoritism, and he was a great teacher. Probably he and Dr. Doulis, another Rush surgeon, were, I think, the two most technically gifted surgeons I've ever had the opportunity to work with. So I felt blessed to be under his tutelage and be taught here.
So if you're a student and you want to think about surgery, what should you really know about what it is to be a surgeon?
Well, I think that first of all, there's some misconceptions about surgery, and you have to dispel those misconceptions. And one misconception is that surgeons don't know medicine, that they're strictly technicians, and that's clearly not true. We have to recognize sepsis. We have to be able to recognize when other organs are being challenged and start to malfunction. We have to recognize comorbid conditions as they impact on the risk of surgery. And another misconception is that surgeons don't have long-term relationships with their patients. And that's also not true. One of the benefits of practicing in this country and at this institution is that we can practice as we see fit. And if I want to follow my cancer patients indefinitely, or my patients with inflammatory bowel disease indefinitely, I can do that. And so what that creates is an environment, a practice where you're seeing patients who you've known for 20 years. And so I would tell students that surgeons are medical doctors, that you have long-term relationships with your patients. Training nowadays is a lot more friendly. than it was years ago. When my father-in-law was a resident, they had to live in the hospital. That's why they call them residents. They weren't allowed to marry. Now, some were married, but just kept it quiet. And then my generation, we did a lot of every other night call, and we had, work weeks exceeding 100 hours. Those times are gone. And so training now is much more friendly. It allows you to have outside interests. It allows you to have a life. And I think that's a good thing. Surgeons need to be well-rounded and less stressed. I would highly recommend it as a career.
So over the years, you've seen medicine change, surgery change, and things come along. So where do you think it's moving? Where do you think it's heading?
Who knows? I mean, I think that anything is possible. When I was a fifth-year resident, one of our attendings here at Rush, David Roseman, retired at an early age because he thought that there was nothing left to be discovered in surgery, that it had reached its zenith, and that it was nothing else was possible. And that was before robotic surgery, minimally invasive surgery. That was before, that was just as we were starting to scratch the surface with liver transplantation and pancreas. He was a smart guy, and he didn't see it coming. So for me to say what's coming down the road, I think anything is possible. Nothing would surprise me. Hopefully we'll find the cure for cancer, and hopefully Rush will play a part in that. I'm sorry that I'm 62 years old and going to have to retire at some point, but because I think it's just now getting exciting. Yes. I was away for 5 years, and it's great being back. I think there's a commitment to excellence here. There's a change in leadership that you're a big part of that, and that's attracted a lot of outstanding doctors. But there's a commitment to excellence, I think, that you can feel. It's palpable. As soon as you park your car in the parking garage and you walk in, there's so much activity and hustle and bustle at this medical center. It's a medical center that never sleeps. It's like New York City, and there's always stuff going on, and I don't feel that at other places.
As people think about coming to Rush, new faculty, students, staff, what would you tell them, and what advice would you give them?
Take advantage of everything that Rush has to offer. Visit all the different websites, see what new programs are being started. The medical school is, again, a very vibrant university. Take advantage of the health club. Take advantage of the central location in terms of housing and restaurants, and then just a tremendous faculty and commitment to excellence.
Thank you so much for doing this.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure.